Hello and welcome to Girls on Deck. I'm here with Hannah Russo, and we're going to talk about the exciting Game 6. The Los Angeles Dodgers, after 32 years, are now World Series champions. Hannah, what are your thoughts on this?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting them to take it last night. I was talking to some people in my FCA group, and we were saying, oh, right now it looks like the Rays are going to win. Like, Snell's doing great. He pitched 5 scoreless innings. The Dodgers have no chance of catching up, but then they turned it around.
Yeah, it was a game that should have been Tampa's, honestly. That
Yeah.
started off Randy Arozarena with the solo home run in the first inning. Blake Snell, 9 strikeouts for his whole time pitching, and just it blows me away. I remember checking my phone in the beginning, and I'm like, oh, this is it. We're going to a game 7. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Like this is what's going to happen. And then they pull Blake Snell out in the 6th after only 2 hits. I was like, what? Like, how are you going to do that? It was probably one of the worst calls. Now Kevin Cash is getting bashed on every social media platform.
Yeah.
What do you think of the call?
Honestly, he could have left him in
Mm.
for a little bit longer and just let him figure out what his arm was going to do to see if he could pull through the whole game, because some pitchers can do that.
Mm.
And if he could have pitched complete 6, 7.5 innings, then they probably would have taken game 6 for themselves and they would be playing tonight.
No, there's been pitchers who've gone to 7 innings and have done way worse. Like, it wasn't like he was doing a bad job. He
No.
let one hit go, and like Kevin Cash freaked out. I was like, all right, we got to get someone new. But I don't think it was the time. He was doing great. He was striking him out. Mookie couldn't hit against him. So why take him out when he's doing everything you need him to do? And I think they basically handed the Dodgers the title when they did that.
They did, because Anderson immediately gave up a double and an RBI ground out that set the Dodgers ahead 2-1. So once they did that, it was already a low-scoring game. There was no chance that the Rays were going to take it if Anderson was pitching the way that he was, or if the Dodgers were hitting off of him the way that they were.
Exactly. No, it was a phenomenal game after that. Dodgers on second and third in the bottom of the 6th. A missed catch by Zunino ties the game. It wasn't even like it was home runs that did it. It was a missed catch and a single that got 2 Dodgers into home, and now they're leading. So, again, had Blake Snell been in there, that something like that wouldn't have happened. And they really let the team down. I still can't get over it. You literally handed the Dodgers that when you did that, because Blake Snell was the one that you were like, the Dodgers were nervous. Oh my God, we're going up against Blake Snell. No one could hit against him. It makes them nervous. If you consistently strike out against a pitcher, that makes you nervous every time you go up. And it didn't pan out for them.
No, and especially because he was pulled right before Mookie Betts went up to bat for the 3rd time. And then that's when they started scoring again, because Betts also scored a solo home run in the 8th to secure their win. So they put Anderson in and they handed it to Betts. Betts completely took over for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and it was exciting, to see Betts. He's new to the Dodgers, and it's his first year making, in a championship team. So it was exciting for him to have that home run and, just really secure that for the Dodgers. And when they won, it's amazing. Clayton Kershaw, this is also his first one. There's so many players that should have had a World Series title many years ago that are getting it got it for the first time on Tuesday night. So I think it was, well deserved, much deserved. They've been trying the past couple of years and they keep coming up short. So I think it was their time. I think personally, it's like it would have been more of a letdown if the Dodgers lost rather than Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay hadn't made an appearance in 2008. So it's exciting that they're there. It'd be awesome for them to get their first World Series win, but at the same time, the Dodgers have kept making it the past couple of years and coming up short. So it would have been honestly embarrassing had they lost, because essentially they are the better team.
They are, and especially because Tampa has a lot of young players right now, so they have a chance to go back next season and to keep building. But for people like Clayton Kershaw, who have other titles like the Cy Young National winner, he's probably one of the top 10 that this is his first World Series title. So for him and a team of older players and of players that have been in the game for at least 2 or more seasons. This was something that they needed, and it's definitely something that's going to propel them into an excellent season next year.
Yeah, and I think going back to Clayton Kershaw is something that's well deserved. He's easily one of the greatest pitchers we'll ever see in our lifetime. And so it's awesome to see him finally getting, he's got the Cy Young Awards, he got that, but you always want that World Series title. That's like every baseball player's dream, of course. So it's really awesome, to see him get that. He was crying, hugging everyone. So it was really honestly just awesome to watch and awesome to see like how much hard work they've put in. I mean, yeah, so the World Series was an exciting series to watch. Tampa Bay was fighting for it. The Dodgers were fighting for it. In the end, it is clear the Dodgers maybe wanted it a little more, but it was a back and forth. The Dodgers on Saturday night made horrible errors and the Rays won that game. So you're like, oh no, the Rays want it more. And it's, again, like you said, it's a young team, and I think Randy Arozarena is going to be crucial for Tampa Bay next season. And I think they really need to, we talked about this last time, like make a face for the team, and I think he could be one of them.
Oh, yeah. And there was another player. I'm struggling to remember his name right now, but he's from Seminole, Florida. He's one of their hometown players that they just secured this past season. He's also a new name, and he was the one that helped them win on Saturday. Yes. Phillips. He's going to do amazing with Arozarena next season. Like, they're both young players that have a great future ahead of them. And if they stay with the Rays, they're definitely going to be able to win a title, hopefully next season or in seasons to come.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, Tampa Bay obviously didn't win, but what Brett Phillips was able to pull off on Saturday night was phenomenal. It was his first postseason hit ever, like brand new to the majors. And this kid is saving the team that night, making them win. So I think, it's awesome to see, whether you're a Dodgers fan or not, you love those moments as a sports fan, as a baseball fan, when, the rookie, the underdog kind of gets that big moment, because that sets him for them. Like, that's going to be his moment for the rest of his life.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that he remembers, and it's definitely going to give him more motivation going into next season to improve on his hitting and to make sure that he secures his spot in the starting lineup.
Absolutely. And going back to the MVP of the World Series, Corey Seager, much deserved. I mean, he's the first shortstop to win a World Series MVP in 10 years. Edgar Renteria is the last one in 2010. He's had 8 home runs this postseason, 20 RBIs, second of all time. He's been absolutely phenomenal for the Dodgers. Definitely could not have gotten to where they got winning without him. So it was just really well deserved on his end. And I was so happy that he got it.
Yeah, he has been playing really well this season, so it was definitely a long time coming. And it honestly could have been between him and Clayton Kershaw getting it, like when it comes down to it all. But I definitely think it was well deserved for him, and it's something that he's going to carry forward into his career and use as motivation to keep going and to keep getting better, to win more awards and reach a higher level of being a baseball player.
Absolutely. And, it goes to show just the talent on the Dodgers team, the talent that they've had for years. Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Clayton Kershaw. I mean, they're just such a stacked team, and like it's finally their time. They finally won. Corey Seager, again, much deserved. He got the NLCS MVP award as well. So again, much deserved, super exciting for him. And I think, like you said, going into next season, it'll give him that boost. And, I think he could honestly make an MVP run for the National League this year as well. And if he doesn't get it this year, he's going to come back swinging next year, because I think that's something that he's definitely going to be working up to.
Oh, yeah. And this is probably his first award of many. So there's going to be more from him next year, where he will keep winning and he will keep saying, this is who I am. This is the kind of player I am. Look out. Be a little scared.
Exactly. Totally agree. I'm ready to see what he can pull off next season. Now, the big controversy of the World Series is Justin Turner. Some way, somehow, in the middle of the game, they find out that he has tested positive for COVID-19. So they take him out, put in Edwin Rios, but he comes back to celebrate with them after the game. So everyone's confused. Everyone's like, what's going on? Apparently, officials had told him not to come out, to stay inside and isolate, but he's like, no, I deserve it. I'm going to go out. So, like, what do you think happened? Like, what's with the mix-up there?
Honestly, it could be a false positive. I know that there's been a lot of that going around in the not just in baseball, but in the sports industry in general recently. So it could have been, I know that he's been quarantining and that he hasn't shown any symptoms, or like he's been trying to isolate himself when he's not at practices or at a game, and he hasn't shown any symptoms. So he had the right to go out and celebrate, and it's something they found out in the middle of the game. So it's something if he does have it, all the players have already been exposed. So there's no point in keeping him away from everyone else and trying to protect them if they were all on top of each other and all like side by side minutes before.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, Mookie Betts said he deserves to be out here, deserves to be out here celebrating with us. So if they're fine with it, just keep it within yourselves. Though this is again, it's something that COVID is very easily spread. So it's something that, don't go outside and give it to other people. But if they're all fine with it within themselves, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do? And it's not like he was on the bench the whole time. Justin Turner has been an absolute asset to the Dodgers throughout this postseason, throughout the seasons past. So it's definitely something that, that would have sucked if he couldn't go out there and celebrate with his team.
He definitely earned it. They've played a great season, and he's definitely shown them that this is his team. This is where he belongs this season. So if he didn't get the right to celebrate, it kind of would have been, and did I really do all this to sit here and watch people that I've worked with all season celebrate something that we've done together? He wouldn't have been taking part in it, and it honestly wouldn't have been fair to him.
Yeah, it's something that's, I think, still developing. They're still trying to figure out what's going on there. I hope it's a false positive. You don't want to see anyone get COVID these days. It's very, scary disease. We're trying to get rid of it here. So hopefully it is a false positive. I mean, we could see, they're all going to get tested now, I'm sure. So that's something else. But now let's go to the impact that this win has on LA. The Lakers won just a couple weeks ago, and now the Dodgers win. I mean, if you're from LA, you're having the time of your life right now.
It's LA is probably one of the best places for sports to be right now. I would say Tampa is definitely the next best. Yeah. The Waves, the Lightning, and the Bucks are having a decent season. So these cities, these bigger cities are starting to make a name for themselves in sports, aside from just, especially LA, aside from just the Hollywood aspect. And then we have a ton of celebrities, but we have awesome sports teams that can go out there and show their worth and demonstrate that we have raw talent and we're still developing it, but it's going to go out and it's going to grow and it's going to be something that this city's known for.
Yeah. And, everyone's trying to honor Kobe this year with, his passing earlier in the year. And someone noted that the Lakers have 17 titles now and the Dodgers have 7, and that is equals 24.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter today and I'm like, it's like those little things, and it's awesome, LA. It's awesome in times like this when a city can come together to appreciate one thing. I remember, I'm from Miami, and when the Heat were in the finals, it was so exciting because it was like we were finally coming together again. Like everyone was putting their stress behind them and just really focusing on the sport and watching the sport. So I think that's something that we really have been shown this year, is that sports have such an impact to bring people together and kind of distract from like the problems that you have and, your day-to-day life, and just being an outlet.
Yeah, it's kind of like going to the movies. You can go to fit in with other people and get rid of that feeling of loneliness that you were experiencing in your own room or in your own space. And you can share your love of one thing with probably 30,000 others.
Exactly. So, congrats to Los Angeles on your 2 titles this season. Congrats to Tampa Bay with the Lightning. And, the Rays, this is just the beginning for the Rays. This is something that I think they'll make a run for it again next year. And, they could win it all next year. We don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully it's a normal season next year. Hopefully COVID doesn't get in the way of the season again. But the Dodgers, much deserved, super exciting. And when we come back, we're going to be talking with Quentin Rodriguez about the Jets and the Dolphins. Stay tuned.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
We're back with Girls on Deck here with Quentin Rodriguez to talk some NFL and some of the worst teams, including the Jets. So I want to get your opinion. The Jets are the worst team in the NFL right now, the only winless team. I want to know what your overall opinion on that is.
Oh, definitely. I mean, without a doubt, I would say that the New York Jets are the laughingstock of the entire NFL. I mean, if you look at it throughout the first 8 weeks, I mean, they haven't even won a football game yet. They currently sit at 0-7, and then their problems are just very systemic. Like, if you look at it, Adam Gase has not been a good head coach ever since his arrival, hasn't been doing good. I know that the team kind of rallied last year, and then they did show us a little bit of signs of hope. They finished 7-9. And they finished down the stretch with a 6-2 record, which gave Jets fans a little bit of hope. But it just seems like it's the same old song and dance with this organization. Just terrible player management, terrible drafting. And then whenever they do get the players in the building, they can't quite coach them up per Adam Gase's policy. I feel like he's just a little bit too consistent and like relies on his system a little bit more and doesn't really know how to properly use his personnel. So I feel like the New York Jets, unless they make a head coaching change, they will go 0-16 this season.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Gase was the Dolphins' reject, and they picked him up. So, I don't know that I necessarily expected much, and he's kind of proving how poorly his coaching is.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if the head coach was the problem or if it was something coming from their offensive or their defensive lines, but you kind of answered that for me already. But one thing that I do want to ask you is, do you think that they just have a weak franchise, or is it just a problem rooted in their head coach?
That's a great question, but I do think that it would be a little bit of both. I mean, if we look at it, the Jets, they haven't won a Super Bowl, since Super Bowl III, which was in 1963, I believe. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So New York Jets fans have definitely been waiting, decades for to bring a title back to that city. So I do feel like the franchise overall is a little bit snake bitten, but then to Kayla's point as well, Adam Gase was the Miami Dolphins reject, and then if we look at it now, the Dolphins are a 500 football team. Their record is 3-3. They seem to be trending upwards. And if we look at players that were coached by Adam Gase, such as Devontae Parker, I mean, he's actually been having a pretty good past 2 seasons as far as being their primary target, especially with their tight end as well that they drafted out of Penn State. They've been making some moves as well. And then Adam Gase, I mean, during the end of his tenure, he kind of just traded everyone away from Miami. And then I wouldn't be surprised if he does stay the head coach. And like we just talked about with the management situation, with Joe Douglas being their GM, he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, so he's not afraid to pull the trigger towards the trade deadline. So I don't know. I mean, definitely we should expect to see some trades. So I guess to answer the question, to wrap it up, I would say that it is a little bit of both. It is from the GM as well as the coaching in this particular instance.
Okay, so then if we look forward into next season, right now it's looking like they're going to have the first overall pick for the NFL draft, and the big name out there is Trevor Lawrence. How do you feel about that?
Trevor Lawrence, I mean, I definitely do see him changing life in whatever franchise he does end up in. I mean, he's statistically, one of the greatest college quarterbacks that we've ever seen. He's been running the pro system. He has a big body. He definitely knows when to make the correct throws, how to audible. And then, I just feel like he is one of the most perfect products that we've seen coming out of the NFL draft so early. But if he does end up going to New York Jets, then they're definitely going to have a question on what they're going to do with their current quarterback that they have, which is Sam Darnold. I do understand that he was taken in the 2017 draft with the 3rd overall pick, but like we were saying, due to the coaching issues and also management issues, we haven't exactly seen Sam Darnold's true potential, so we can't exactly estimate what his market value will be worth. So, I mean, like I just said, you spent the 3rd overall pick on him. What are you going to get back in return for him? I know that you are going to pick number 1 and likely take Trevor Lawrence with that, but it's just it just goes back to the management issues again. I would say you could pretty much only get a second round pick for him. So hopefully they'll have 2 seconds and keep the first overall pick and be able to secure their franchise quarterback and hopefully get it turned around with Lawrence. But we're just going to have to see. Then it sends a bad message because you just drafted a quarterback 3 years ago. So they didn't really give him time to develop, but I do think that Trevor Lawrence should be the most valuable option if the Jets do pick number one, and they're definitely going to have to make a few deals, call some teams, and see what they could get for not only Sam Darnold, but a plethora of their other players that they do see that may be valuable to teams that could win now.
I agree, and I think, going back to the management of the team, Roddy White, former NFL Falcons wide receiver, said, "If I'm Trevor Lawrence, if the Jets finish with no wins, I just go back to Clemson. I don't want any part of that organization." I mean, that's embarrassing for the Jets, first of all, to have someone say, "Don't go, stay another year at Clemson." He's a junior, so it's possible. But, I mean, what do you think of that statement? Do you think it's a valid statement? Do you think Trevor Lawrence stays another year? Or what's your opinion on it?
Well, I mean, honestly, quite frankly, I personally would not blame him if he does decide to stay another year. I do know that I think it was yesterday or 2 nights ago, they actually did ask him the question on if he was going to come out, and he kind of left the people with a little bit of optimism. He didn't really give a straightforward answer. He kind of just said, everything that he's been planning to come out, but just depending on how the season goes, he may stay. So we do know Clemson is more than likely, I would say a pretty good, a 90% chance that they are going to qualify for the college football playoff. They were able to make it to the championship game last year. And like we just said about Trevor Lawrence, one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time. That man only has one loss in his whole entire collegiate career. So we're just going to have to see. He might come out, but it just depends on who is picking number one overall. If it is the New York Jets, I would have to stay put, honestly. And you see if I could run it back with Clemson and then possibly, try to break more records and see what else I could do and see if I could lead Clemson to another natty.
Now, do you think that would be maybe dangerous, though? A possible injury in his college football career, that's something that could be a little risky in a sense of waiting another year to go into the draft. Or do you think that won't be a problem for him?
No, for sure. Of course, injury always raises a concern, especially when we talk about a player of this caliber, making the jump or not. But, even if Trevor Lawrence does get injured, God forbid, I have my fingers crossed, maybe he will actually be able to play for a little bit of a better contender because, he will be injured and then teams may have him a little bit lower on the draft board or whatnot. I still think even if he does get injured, he still will be at bona fide least a top 3 target. Top 3 pick. We look at it with Tua Tagovailoa for the Miami Dolphins. He was injured. He did not play half of the season in 2018, I believe, and he still was a top 5 overall pick. So if you have the talent, I do believe that GMs will be able to roll the dice and take a chance on you.
I couldn't agree more. And Hannah, I know, wanted to discuss a little more of the Tua topic.
Yeah, I was going to say, moving from current star ACC quarterback to a former star SEC quarterback, Tua time in Miami started last Sunday with 3, and he played, I believe, the 4th quarter for a couple short plays, and then he was done. But then 3 short days later, he was named starting quarterback. Do you think his reign in Tuscaloosa is going to transfer over to Miami?
100%. Tua time, I agree with it. Too early, I think so. I honestly do think that Tua Tagovailoa is going to be thrusted into action a little bit sooner than we expected, but I feel like the Miami Dolphins all along that they did have a plan. They probably planned to start him after the bye week. As we do know, Miami does not play. Gives him a little extra time to practice, get his mind correct mentally and kind of just spend a little bit more time digging in the playbook or whatnot. But I do feel like Ryan Fitzpatrick was doing a pretty good job at the helm for the Miami Dolphins. They're 3-3. I can't believe it, but Miami Dolphins, they don't have more losses than wins at this current point in time. It's an exciting time to be a Miami Dolphins fan. And the team was kind of rallying around Fitzpatrick, but who else would you rather have in your corner than a type of player as Fitzpatrick? He's been in the league for however long. I don't even know how many teams this man has played for. I know it's over 8. He's played on so many teams. He has a lot of experience as a backup and as a starter. So he's definitely going to be able to provide Tua with a lot of good, valuable information moving forward. Now, I do think that they should have maybe waited a little bit and then started him. Let me see. I think it's week 9 when they play the Bengals. the Bengals and the Jets. They played the Jets. Excuse me, sorry about that. They played the Jets, and then they played the Bengals. So I feel like those would be a little bit of like better games, like his first 2 games, against defenses that haven't exactly been the best. And then especially considering that the Dolphins' offensive line is a little bit banged up too. So they have 2 rookies playing on the right side of their offensive line. As we do know, Tua Tagovailoa is a left-handed quarterback, so the pressure is going to be coming from that right side. So he's going to be taking some hits, but I definitely do think that Tua is the long-term answer in Miami, and I'm just trying to see it from both sides of the spectrum as well. So I do understand that Miami had a plan, but personally, it's just a little bit too early for my liking, just considering the way that the Miami Dolphins have rallied around Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you with Fitzpatrick. He's been in Tua's corner, like hyping him up and making sure that he has everything that he needs and to make sure that he doesn't crack under pressure. And looking at how he played at Alabama and how he played through his injuries, especially, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the 2018 SEC championship against Georgia when they pulled him and put in Jalen Hurts because he was playing through his injury. But do you think he's going to crack under pressure since he hasn't before? Or is what Ryan Fitzpatrick is doing to kind of coach him and make sure that he has all he needs to succeed helping?
Well, I do think he's going to experience a few struggles, especially throughout the first 2 contests. Like I said, they do play the Los Angeles Rams. They do have a pretty good defense. We have seen what they've been able to do to the likes of team that they played. Like they just held the Chicago Bears to 10 points. I mean, I know it's the Bears, but they do have pretty established players on that defense. Obviously, Aaron Donald, he is a complete havoc wrecker on the defensive line, and we just talked about Miami Dolphins offensive line concerns. So he is going to be in for a little bit of a rude awakening at first, but I just feel like, like I said, Miami Dolphins had their plan. They're going to stick to it, and just hopefully Ryan Fitzpatrick will be able to benefit him, let him know what's going on, see things from his perspective as well. And it may not necessarily be the best thing to do, but if Tua doesn't have a first good few games or whatnot, they may put Fitzpatrick in for a few drives and, let the young buck calm down, let him settle down, and maybe just, allow him to see things from a different perspective. But I do believe that he will remain the starter from this point forward. And to circle it all back and answer your question, I do think that they will be okay with just Tua Tagovailoa.
And like you said, that you think it's a little too soon for Tua to be starting. It hasn't even been a full year yet since his injury. Do you think that, he maybe need a little more time? Like, let's not push it. Let's let him have the full time to heal. We do have Ryan Fitzpatrick if you're the Dolphins. And I think, maybe I agree that Ryan Fitzpatrick, give him a couple more games and then maybe redecide. But what do you think on that?
Definitely, yeah. So like I was saying, Miami Dolphins, they do have their plan in place, but just personally, I do think it was a little bit early. But we'll see. I think it should have been a full calendar year before Tua should have played. But like I said, Miami has their plan. They obviously, the people in the front office get paid a lot more money than me to make these type of decisions. So I do feel like that they're going to trust within their own process. And Tua Tagovailoa is coming a little bit earlier than a lot of us expected.
And, you mentioned before that the Dolphins will be going up against the Rams this upcoming Sunday. Now, it'll be Tua versus Jared Goff and the battle of the quarterbacks. Do you think the Dolphins can win this? They're second in the AFC East right now. They don't have a bad record, but going up against a team like the Rams, what do you think?
I mean, like you said, they have been playing pretty good. They did start off 1-3, so they've won their last 2 games, but I just feel like not necessarily like their luck, but I just feel like this matchup just isn't quite the best for the Miami Dolphins in this particular game. Like I mentioned, the offensive line struggles of the Miami Dolphins, and then Aaron Donald, I mean, that man is just a monster. I believe he already has 8 sacks on the season, which qualifies for second overall in the NFL. So obviously, Aaron Donald is a game changer. You want to make sure you know where that man is at all times. And then what better way to start your career? Well, what worse way to start your career instead of for going against Jalen Ramsey, who we all know is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. It's certainly a top 5 guy. We do know Devontae Parker has been a little shaky. And then the Miami Dolphins receiving core is just a little bit young, so definitely Ramsey will be able to lock him up, clamp him up, and we're just going to have to see. I don't think the Dolphins will be able to win this one. I think Miami wins this one, not handsomely, but I do think it will be by a 10-point margin. But I do think the LA Rams are just going to be a little bit too much for the Dolphins to overcome in this matchup.
So if the Dolphins were to want to win, what do you think they need to do? What strings do they need to pull? I know you said it's unlikely, but God forbid they do. What do you think they need to do?
Got you. So then in this particular matchup against the Rams, I would say just honestly, just get the ball out quick. Like we said, we know that offensive line is a little bit shaky. I mean, we know that Tua Tagovailoa has one of the better releases that we've seen in college and also transitioning into the NFL. That was one of the things that was really heavy on his scouting report, just, that quick flick of the wrist. He's a lefty as well. And a lot of people are comparing his passing in the pocket to the likes of Drew Brees, just the way that how quickly the ball comes out, just the timeliness behind it, and also just like the spirals, just like he's pinpoint accurate. It's almost surgical. Like that man is surgical with his delivery. Like he will stop at nothing once he gets into a nice groove. So I would just say, just try to mix it up a little bit, incorporate some play action, run past options to where you can either hand it off to the running back, try to pull it, try to throw it in for like a quick 5, 6, 7 yard slant or whatever it may have. And then also, we know that Tua Tagovailoa is a great running quarterback. So run a little bit of read option in there too. Get Tua get him going on the move. We saw, even though he only completed 2 passes against the Jets last week, we did see one of the completions, play action pass, left, rolled out. He looked good throwing on the run, and we do know that that was something that he was very effective with. So get him on the run, get the ball out quick, and maybe Miami will have a chance in this one.
And I think, like you said, that comparison to Drew Brees for Tua is hopeful for Dolphins fans because, many years ago, the Dolphins passed on Drew Brees, and he's now one of the greatest quarterbacks. So it could be that, that light at the end of the tunnel where, okay, you finally got the quarterback, that maybe will not the same legacy as Dan Marino, but, a different, maybe we can have that face again as a Dolphins fan.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, they've been searching for a franchise QB for a while. So I really hope it works out for him. Well, them too.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Quentin, for talking with us.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it. Like, I've been on some of the other shows before. It's my first time on Girls on Deck. I really appreciate and like what you guys are doing over here. So I hope to be back again sometime soon.
Thank you so much, and we hope to have you again soon. And hopefully we'll see a brighter future for the Jets and the Dolphins on this Sunday. So thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. We'll be back next week with an all-new episode.